and RuBy, I think he lost pretty much everything in that attack, and Go.Go has landed his barracks just to try to stop, make it a little bit harder for the other vultures to come out. And now he finally lifts that off. He doesn't want to lose that, so he can build his own factories. But yeah, still only vultures for RuBy. So hopefully RuBy has a plan B, because he's not going to be able to finish this out with vultures. But yes, if he has a plan B, he can switch into something else. Wraith's coming out now for Go.Go. He's not going to have cloaked wraiths, but he's going to have some wraiths in to tackle this. But yeah, the 2 more machine shop coming up for RuBy. So he is transitioning into a tank build now, deciding, okay, I can't finish this with vultures. It's going to be a little bit harder to sneak into the base and kill those SCVs like I wanted to. So yes. Okay, Go.Go still out in the middle with a ton of vultures, and he has been scanning a little bit to get rid of those mines, I believe. I saw him picking off some mines earlier, and now he's laying mines of his own. So the middle, yeah, he's scanning, trying to get rid of some of these mines. But there's so many mines in the middle for both players. It's going to take a lot of scan. Okay, Goliath's out. The 2 preemptive Goliaths, so the main might have been scanned. Well, the natural expansion, where that starport was, might have been scanned by RuBy, and he's going to know to get some Goliaths out to fight off the wraiths. Barracks for Go.Go going to go down. He's going to have to rebuild his barracks if he wants to put down any more factories, although he does quite a few factories out, so he might not have to do that for a while. Yeah, like I said, stuck inside of his natural with those tanks until he can get enough scan out. And he's been wasting a lot of scans on the middle trying to get rid of those mines. But yeah, there's still a ton of mines out. Okay, Command Center trying to come up for Go.Go over at the 3 o'clock position. That SCV died, but he's going to send another one up there to finish that off. Oh man, so many mines. There are mines at pretty much every expansion now. I think Go.Go is trying to keep tabs on every expansion. He has a mine everywhere. And RuBy's actually moving out with I don't know where all these tanks came from, but he's moving out with a pretty huge tank force and a bunch of Goliaths. This will help him against the Wraith squad. Looks like RuBy's barracks actually went down, so he's got to rebuild that as well. These guys scanning all over the place to get rid of these mines. So many mines in for both players. But RuBy has to worry about it more than Go.Go, because RuBy is going with a huge tank force, and Go.Go pretty much committing. He has a few tanks in the area, but he's committing mostly to Wraith and Vulture, trying to keep up there. And now these guys are going to try to hold the middle. The Wraith's coming in. They might be able to pick off this tank. The Goliath's completely out of position, so 1 tank going down, and see if Go.Go is greedy and tries to go for another one. He's trying to go, but yes, being picked at by the Goliaths. So it's smart of him to pull back. Oh man, I think a dropship's coming out now for Go.Go. He put down his control tower, so he's probably going to try to drop inside of the main or thereabouts. Still more scanning from RuBy. Try to get rid of these pesky mines that are all over the map. And these guys are probably going to try to inch forward with their tanks. I think Go.Go is going to try to inch forward a little bit with his tanks. Try to get a much more defensive posture in the middle so he can take the 2 o'clock and the inside 2 o'clock, the 2:30 position for himself. He's coming out with so many vultures to lay mines and make sure they can take that. But, oh man, he's trying to take the 12 o'clock as well. So RuBy's coming out with a couple dropships. He's got to get it done now. He's got to do something to stop Go.Go from taking all those expansions up at the 2 o'clock position. Coming out with 3 dropships. So I think he's going to drop the main, or yeah, I think he's going straight for the main since he's moving down the map like this. Go.Go might spot this. Yeah, Go.Go coming in with his entire army, so I think he's going to scout this. It's going to be super close, but RuBy coming in with kind of a ragtag group. He drops most of his tanks. I think he dropped most of his tanks there from the dropships, so it looks like his little main drop will have to wait for a little while. Wraiths being pushed back, and yeah, I think Go.Go has very good defense right now, although he still hasn't taken anything up at the 2 o'clock. Another expansion from RuBy going down at the 8 o'clock, and yeah, Go.Go can't let this happen. Go.Go is going to be very much behind if he lets RuBy take that base. And I thought that Go.Go had put down a mine down there to see that coming up, but RuBy could have scanned and gotten rid of it. I'm not exactly sure, but yes, looks like even more dropships coming out for RuBy, so we're going to see some heavy dropship play from both players, I think. Go.Go committed himself to dropships now, too, so, oh man. Trying to hold that middle, Siege Wars in the middle. And Go.Go is crawling up with his tank squad. So yes, he's definitely trying to position himself so he can take that those 2 o'clock bases. But what he doesn't understand is RuBy is actually going to be ahead in bases, because Go.Go hasn't done anything to deny that 8 o'clock base yet. Go.Go trying to go into position. The dropship's coming in now for RuBy. Might drop right on top of these tanks that just siege. This could be very bad. And RuBy deciding to back off. Maybe he didn't have troops in those dropships, or maybe he's going for an expansion. But either way, Go.Go's going to know about it. He knows about this. He's building his turrets, and he's dropping a lot of troops over at the 3 o'clock position. So RuBy has to back off, almost losing a dropship in the process. So the indecision kind of cost RuBy, I think. Even though he's going to be economically ahead soon, the indecision might have cost him a base that he could have destroyed, or a bunch of siege tanks at least. Finally, the 8 o'clock position coming up for RuBy, and Go.Go is still moving in, trying to scan. He might want to invest in a science vessel at this point, because there's so many mines all over the place. RuBy flying by once again with his dropships, deciding not to drop just yet. It could be possible that he doesn't have those dropships filled with troops yet. They could just have not enough that he wanted to have in the dropships. He wants to pick up a few more tanks probably. But he's going to have Go.Go right into his natural soon. Now he's coming over, dropping right on top of the tanks that just siege for Go.Go. But Go.Go coming in with a dropship of his own, but RuBy defends this. Very nice defense from RuBy, and I don't even think he used all of his troops in the dropships to do that. So that was very excellent play from him, finally utilizing his dropships for defense. Yeah, if Go.Go had come in and been able to get into the main with his troops, I mean, he had a dropship right over there. So if he'd gotten into the main, it would have been very hard to get rid of him. There's a very difficult little area over there that can just put your tanks in, siege them, and then protect them, and it'd be very hard to save the supply depots and the production buildings inside the main. Go.Go spotting the 8 o'clock. He's coming in with a couple of few rays, just to pick off SCVs at that location. And that's going to annoy RuBy for a little bit. RuBy, he's going to bring in one Goliath, and actually that Goliath might not even be able to handle this by itself. RuBy filling up a ton of dropships. This could be a big dropship drop from him, moving back down the map. Could be getting his troops into a more defensive position to take the other 8 o'clock base, the 8:30 position, if you will. But Go.Go, he's building another command center, getting ready to expand again up at the 2 o'clock, and Go.Go dropping a ton of troops. RuBy coming down. He's coming right down the map, so he could be going for a main drop. Yeah, heading straight for the main, being spotted now by Go.Go. Go.Go spots this with that science facility, but RuBy dropping right into the little area where I thought Go.Go would drop into his own main. But oh man, he's going to be able to destroy a ton of production buildings if Go.Go can't fly all of his troops back. I think most of his troops were up at near the 2 o'clock position. He has a bunch of troops down at the 8 o'clock denying that base, so at least he got something done denying that base. But he loses every single supply depot, and it's going to be very hard to get rid of RuBy from this point on. Go.Go, he's doing the right thing. He has quite a few tanks down, and he's going to probably drop a lot more on top of this troop. But Go.Go, he's out of position here. He's going to lose even more tanks. There's a dropship to get the vision for RuBy. Oh, man. Go.Go probably should have dropped right on top of those tanks. But, yeah, he's going to lose at least one factory. He's lost every single supply depot here, so that's not good for him. But he might even lose a factory in the process. Go.Go still trying to defend. But there's no real way he can approach this now. He's coming in from both sides, but he just doesn't have enough tanks down there. I think he still has tanks out on the field. He thinks he needs those out in the field to do even more attacking maneuvers, but he doesn't have enough at home, having to lift off the second factory. One factory went down, so that's horrible for Go.Go. There's a first-person perspective of Go.Go. You can see him coming down, trying to float away his factories. Is getting a little angry, I think, because it said, "You can't build there. Cannot float down your factory here." But, oh man, you can see RuBy's moving up the map with his own tanks. Now he could be going for that 3 o'clock position, or at least trying to get rid of it. Go.Go's troops at the 12 o'clock. Moving down, RuBy has so many tanks in the area now. Just attack moving into everything that Go.Go has. GG. Go.Go lost all of his tanks in that attack maneuver. So excellently played by RuBy. That was kind of a doom drop of sorts, right into the main and destroyed. He just blocked Go.Go's supply, and that's why he wasn't able to get out enough tanks to deal with that. Oh man, one step away from an Air Force ace player in the round of 16. This is Nuke. I'm moving on.